Now, we want to move on because we're going back to the situation around Wembley during the match on Sunday night, and I'm delighted to say broadcaster and football reporter Michelle Owen is with us here. Michelle, you were covering the Euros for ITV, and you've got a piece in the Telegraph today which outlines some fairly scary things that you saw. Can you talk to us a little bit about your experience? What did you see?
Yeah, I think when I've talked to people about it since, a few people have said, oh, what did you expect? But didn't expect anything like this. So we were doing some stuff around the periphery of the ground, not on Wembley Way. We were deliberately avoiding that because we know it was getting pretty lively. Even in the morning, it was getting lively. So we were on our way to the Club Wembley entrance and just waiting to do a few of the sort of VIPs and football legends going in. And the steward sort of stopped everyone. It went silent, put his hands up, and I thought, why is he so irate? Like, what's he so worried about? And everyone just stopped moving, and you just heard, like, all this crashing and banging. And then probably, like, 5 seconds later, just people sprinting in every direction. You're like, well, what's going on? You're thinking the worst at that point. Has someone got a gun, or is it like a terrorist attack? Because you've seen things like that before, like on the news and the TV, and I couldn't compute what it could be. So we ran behind, like, a wall by the entrance, and then there's probably 100, 150 people just swarming towards us. They smashed down, like, the smaller gates by us, and they ran up the stairs to the upper concourse, and they were just basically breaking into Wembley. And the stewards, you know, they're kids, and they stood there and they don't know what to do. So that was the first thing we saw. We filmed a little bit of it. And then after that, it was sort of wave after wave of this for about an hour. And it turns out in the end they did lock down Wembley. They weren't letting people in. And then the crowds outside were sort of so packed in and getting out of control, they had to open up Wembley again. To be fair, some of the stewards are sort of, I guess, forming like a human cordon, like linking arms, so people couldn't get through them. But, you know, they didn't want to be there, quite clearly. The police didn't appear for ages. Finally, some riot police came down the stairs to sort of, I think, form a fence where the fence had been knocked down. If you've seen the pictures, there was sort of like a 6-foot fence, but they just knocked it over. Anyway, we get inside. We were told not to go inside for ages. We were told to stay put because it was too dangerous to go around to our entrance. Finally got inside. And the checks weren't great, to be honest with you. Like, I had my media pass and things, and I found my seat. So, you know, it's a game of a lifetime. You sit there and you think, right, try and enjoy this a little bit now. But we'd seen some stuff, people covered in blood, kids getting hurt, people getting knocked over. But you think, come on, we're in now. Surely they haven't got in. They had got in, because after about 10, 15 minutes, every minute there was just people trying to squeeze into our row, trying to sit down. It was kicking off between people because people were in there without tickets, and there's people next to who paid, you know, 800 quid for a ticket. It was crazy. In the end, when it got towards the end of extra time and penalties, I just went up into the commentary box with some of my colleagues because I didn't feel safe where I was sat. Fights breaking out, English fans attacking English fans, Italian fans getting beaten up. I mean, I've been covering football for 10 years, and I've never seen anything like it. We went out to Rome, and the first part of my tournament I covered Wales, and I know the Welsh fans couldn't really get out to many games, but didn't see anything like this. It was just a disgrace, and, you know, I can't believe what we saw. And speaking to other people that were there, this is the worst game they've ever been to.
So, Michelle, the problems that happened outside continued inside even while the match was ongoing. 'Cause most of the stuff that we've seen, the videos, we've seen the fairly horrific videos of the, I think it's one of the disabled entrances being stormed, and then some fans deciding that they're going to push back the people and fights breaking out there. That was definitely pre-game, but from what you're saying, even while the game was ongoing, there was issues.
Yeah, so in the block we were in, there's sort of like a media area and observer seats where we were right by the commentary boxes. And then just below us, a family came up in tears, and my colleague said, look, you can't see it, you haven't got a ticket. This has been happening all game. They're like, we have got tickets, but there's so many people in our area, a massive fight's just broken out between English fans on English fans, and we can't sit there with our kids. You know, there's kids in tears. People can't even watch the game because of what's going on. And if you look at the grand context of, I think there were 67,000 people in there, it was probably pockets of hundreds. But for those people, that game was absolutely ruined, and some of the stuff they saw is just frightening. I've heard of accounts of people walking out, and I do remember sitting there, and this guy comes and sits in front of me, And he says, "Oh, is anyone sitting here?" And because of social distancing, there was a seat between us. And the guy in front of me says, "No, you can sit there." And I said, "What are you doing? He hasn't got a ticket." And then someone else comes and does it next to us, and yeah, uses some pretty bad expletives, saying to leave him alone. And he's the sort of guy you wouldn't mess with when I'm 5'5" and a woman on my own, away from my colleagues. But they've got these big backpacks. They haven't been scanned. They haven't been checked. And at that point, you're thinking, well, what's in there? You don't know. We're all checked. We're all scanned, and supposedly everyone's COVID checked. I think that was farcical. This is the biggest game that England have hosted in years, and it all just went so wrong. It's such a shame. Yeah.
So, sorry, Michelle, just because I'm not overly familiar with Wembley, how do they get in with their bags without being scanned? Because you would have assumed that after they break down the barriers that there is another couple of checks at least before somebody in a backpack gets into the stadium.
Yeah, so when I've been as a fan, it's a bit different as media, but you still get your bag scanned. You still have to go through 2 or 3 checkpoints as media. But when I've been as a fan before, you usually get your bag scanned once. So what they would have done is where those turnstiles are, the bag checkpoint is by the turnstile, so you sort of go through both. You take your bag off, security scan it, and you go through the buzzer, and then you go through the turnstile. But they were coming in such big waves, they were just knocking everyone down in front of them. So it was just brute force, really. Or they tailgate someone with a ticket, they just tailgate on the turnstile behind them. We saw that happening. But it was just sheer sort of power and force. If they had a backpack on, that wasn't going to be checked, was it, if they were just running through? Yeah, it's just, speaking about it out loud, it just seems so crazy that it even happens. You know, before the game, I was saying to my husband, I was like, if we can find some tickets online, do you want to come with Zach, who is 20 months old, our little boy? I will never take him to an England game of that magnitude until he's old enough to handle himself. And even then, I'd be worried. And my husband saw it sort of all unfolding on TV, and he was, like, worried about my safety. So you sat there in the final, and I'm half English and half Welsh, and naturally, I really wanted England to win. But I remember sitting there about 60, 70 minutes thinking, gosh, I don't know, like, if I should go home or not. You know, that's really, you're thinking there's so many unchecked people in here. And if it had been full capacity, which thankfully it wasn't, I just dread to think what the consequences could have been. I've heard from friends that were behind the goal, the England end, there's a massive crush. And from about 7:30 onwards, they just couldn't even get out to get to the toilet. It was that busy, or to get a drink. And that would have been very scary. I think I was a bit more fortunate where I was. But there's stories like that all over the grounds. It's just, yeah, horrible.
It doesn't bode well for a World Cup bid, does it?
Yeah, this is what you've got to be thinking, because the real, genuine fans like myself would love nothing better than a World Cup in the UK. But I don't know. I mean, I think we're already thinking of coming in on that bid as well. I'm not quite sure of the ins and outs of it, but if anyone's thinking of teaming up with England for that bid, are you questioning it now? I don't know. I wouldn't like to speak too much about it, because for real fans, it would be a dream to have a World Cup in this country. It's something in my lifetime we've never seen. But behaviour like that, and it is the minority, but the minority is so aggressive and so loud, it gets to the point where, particularly as a woman, you don't feel comfortable at a football match. When we left, my cameraman, who's probably 6'5", he literally just shielded me to get to the car. It wasn't too bad coming out, but we left straight away. Got in the car and got out really quickly, but people were like thumping on my car, and yeah, I was just locking the door. You know, this is not the society we expect to live in, and this is even without talking about what's happened to the players and the racist abuse. It's just, there's the stuff online which is abhorrent, and now there's the stuff in person which is terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty grim all round. Michelle, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us this morning. It's no fun to speak about, but it's kind of important that people get a sense of what it was actually like to be there. Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to take anything away from this England team, because I think they've done brilliantly. And the irony is they stand for the opposite. And Gareth Southgate, in the letter he wrote at the start of the tournament, we know everyone around the world has had a really tough time. And for everyone taking part, it was a bit of a relief and a release, we thought. So I think England, as a team, stand for everything that we should all stand for. I thought they were fantastic.
Michelle, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us. Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers.
That's Michelle Owen there, a football broadcaster who was covering the game for ITV and was at Wembley on Sunday. So should we team up with with the English FA for a bid for the World Cup. Is that the right thing for us to do right now at this moment? I don't know. I mean, I suppose you've got to weigh up everything, right? Given that it's going to be a World Cup with 6 million teams who qualify, do the 4 host nations automatically get in, and therefore do you decide, well, the opportunity to play in a World Cup, we police the hell out of it? You know, you get in, forewarned is forearmed, and you get in loads of extra security, and you just make sure that everybody gets scanned properly for all the matches. And actually, if there's going to be problems, it's not going to be here, it's going to be somewhere else. I don't know. Is that the risk-benefit analysis that you make?
Yeah, like I don't know. I think that what happened over the course of the last couple of days almost screams a level of arrogance from England. So you take the 2018 World Cup, for example. Beforehand, there was almost a preview of the trouble that was going to erupt between English fans and Russian fans. People were terrified about going to that World Cup. I don't remember any real problems. I remember John Duggan being on the show saying things are pretty normal. Like, there may have been some sort of reason, there may have been a really big security clampdown in the build-up to it. I suspect there was, to ensure that there wasn't any trouble. For the English government, for people who organise security services, to not see this coming is remarkable, given that there is a precedent at the previous football tournament to have actually got this thing under control, where there was an expectation where things would have got out of control. I don't know. Like, I mean, maybe the English government would have needed, like, maybe they would have wanted it to be an English-Russia final for them to actually take action. Maybe they don't realise what their own fans can do, or how much their own fans have been the cause of the trouble we've seen in France in 2016 in particular. That do they think that this is some other country's problem, that it's the hooligans from other countries that have got the worst out of English fans? Do they not know the reality of what happens within their own ranks? Because it just screams arrogance or naivety, just or a lack of awareness about what a huge amount of English fans are capable of doing. And like, I think right now it will be reputation suicide to get into bed with this English regime on a footballing level or football tournament organisational level. Like, I can't see the Irish people getting behind this at all. Maybe you cool the jets for a while, a few months, something gets ironed out, but what are you going to do? First of all, this thing is dead in the water from the evidence of the last couple of days. It's not going to be forgotten too soon. It is just such an automatic own goal for football to allow this bid to progress, at least with Qatar. I mean, who knows what sort of benefits might have been on the table for all the different sort of things that FIFA and UEFA have done down through the lines. What's in it for UEFA and FIFA this time to give the World Cup to Wembley, the World Cup final to Wembley? Nothing, absolutely nothing. So I think it would be stupid for Ireland to get on board with this.